right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Sequential Artist Workshop. I'm Tom Hart. I'm here with my guest from a very special location.
Lauren Weinstein, and I am coming to you from Edgewater, New Jersey, at an amazing spa that my friend treated me to for my 50th birthday. So
And it's echoey, but we'll deal with that. You're in the secret spa podcast booth.
they literally have they have a co-working room, and in the co-working room they have a phone booth where you can um, record your podcasts.
I wonder how real soundproof booths work. They must have padding and not hard walls, right? Because like audio is usually recorded in little booths. I'm thinking of voiceovers and things like that, but it must be like really soft or
Yeah.
not not sounds echoing off the walls. Anyway, it's sound.
I'm sorry, I'm so echoey in here.
No, it's cool. Is today your birthday?
Yesterday was
April 16th. Happy birthday, Lauren.
it was very fun. I went to the MoMA with my kids.
Does 50 feel like a big deal?
I feel ready to conquer the world. I do. I feel like healthy, like,
Mm.
and that's a big deal. I've had like back problems before. I don't have them right now, and I'm extra, just to feel like healthy, and everybody, my family feels healthy, especially in this crazy time. That's a good feeling. And
Yeah,
I saw Robert Crumb speak on Tuesday night at the 92nd Street Y.
amazing.
And that was a very, I don't know, that just kind of brought everything full circle for me, seeing him speak and hearing him talk about Dan Nadell, an old friend and great comics person, wrote a biography of his that I started to read, and I really recommend it.
Um, so you said it's like full circle. Is that because you were always a fan of Crumb? And
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, Dan showed me Crumb's sketchbooks and comics in college, and I was so, I don't know, I felt like they were revolutionary. Like he just was spilling his guts out on the page. And then later I saw Aileen Kaminsky Crumb's work, his wife, and she became a huge kind of person in my, like a cartoonist that I really aspire to. I really look up to her. I think that she did some amazing things, and I think he obviously did too. And yes, he's a controversial character, and it kind of gets into a little bit of, I think, about what we're going to be talking about today. But he really, in the context, I think, of what he was doing in the 60s, kind of blew the door open. And I just love the way he draws. And he talked at this talk about kind of getting rid of his ego and how LSD kind of helped him do that. But I was
Mhm.
thinking about that idea of the ego in making comics, that voice that tells you what's good and what's not good. And he was talking about his life struggles with that. It was really interesting.
Hmm. He's got a couple different threads, right? He's got a lot of different threads. Like I think of the craftsman who like made the Bible book and the Philip K. Dick stories and all those kinds of things, right? Like where in the blues stories, he's so dedicated to like getting the lines right and the emotions that are contained in the lines and the story and everything just working in the same level. That stuff's so great. But then there's the From that's just like I gotta tell this zany story because it's in my head, and if I don't get it out of my head, it'll stay there forever and make me insane. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I think those, and I wonder how much, like he said that he's working on a new comic book and Fantagraphics would publish it. Well, he was on being interviewed.
Yeah.
So he's never gotten out of just that love of the comic book medium. But then the David's Warner Gallery represents him and sells his fine art or, his drawings for lots and lots of money. And so he's aware of that like tension, but he says that, the Warner Gallery puts no, doesn't mind what they don't put any constraints on what he's doing. So it's interesting.
Does he do new stuff for them?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe he just does new stuff anyway and they sell it. I don't
oh,
really.
that's true. He's always just drawing.
Yeah.
And it's true that he traded like a handful of sketchbooks for a house, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really what we're all aspiring to here, I think. Um, yeah, so okay, so Crumb is crass and dangerous and full of horrible things, and that's definitely a segue to what I think Jeannie wants to talk about. So maybe we should bring in our guest. Is that all right, Jeannie? Are you there?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, very happy to be here. Yeah, sorry to I hope it doesn't bring everybody down, but okay, that
Let's see where it goes. Lauren will keep things light and happy. Um, so okay, so you've got a question. What's that question?
the question, should I read the question?
I think whatever you're most comfortable with. I'd love to hear you just sort of do it off the cuff, but if you want to read it, that's fine.
So would I.
Okay.
Would I? Yes, absolutely. So yeah, so I a few years ago I started drawing my childhood, which was a bit traumatic and full of adverse childhood experiences. My dad was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and my mom was very much a fawn, in that fight, flight, freeze fawn, which is he was a what the whole family revolved around was his illness and taking care of him, making sure he was happy. And so there was a lot of abandonment and other dysfunction in the family. So I have been, it caused me to go back into therapy and do all of that kind of thing. And what I discovered actually the California Surgeon General, which I think she was the first Surgeon General for a state. But in any case, she was all about adverse childhood experiences and what that leads to in adulthood. And of course, been doing a bunch of other reading into complex PTSD and all of that kind of thing. And the main part of my story is that that what failed us the most was society, was the fact that nobody intervened, the fact that nobody talked to us, or I certainly never had anybody come and tell me that this was weird and wrong and whatever. I was talking recently with someone who grew up with a schizophrenic mother, and she and I laughed at well, the positive is, anything is possible, which relates to a lot of thoughts of aliens coming down and the FBI, talking to, in my case, my father, and he was certain that was happening. So it was a very confusing childhood. And what I would really love is, and it was confusing in different ways and issues for my other three siblings. And they all have their own story, because even though we grew up in the same family, it was different for all of them just because of our ages. And the reason for my my drawing this is to help other children get seen, which was the one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to be seen. And I actually start out my memoir with when I was very young, I liked to draw, and it's a picture of me drawing, and I wanted someone to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and nobody did, because there was nobody there. And so my purpose for this is to do that. The drawing of my childhood was actually quite not easy, but doable, and lots of therapy and a 12-step program in adult children of alcoholics and other dysfunctional families has helped me a great deal with my childhood. And now I need to turn to what that has done and how that affected me as a child. Because with this 1-minute video that I did, oh gosh, for NAMI in 2021, I think, when we were all staying at home, and it was a Zoom conference. The reason, well, the doing of that kind of explains what I want to do. And I'm having a block with talking about some of the issues and some of the damage that I did to my children, because they were part of a relationship, a 4-year relationship that I had with somebody who was very emotionally abusive with them. And so grappling with that and needing to say that, because otherwise the book looks like, oh, this crap happened to me and I'm fine. Me and my chicken, we're just fine. We're doing great. And there are those issues. My mother actually had a psychiatrist tell her when she was concerned about her children. He said, oh, don't worry about them. They're resilient. They won't even remember any of this. So, that is obviously in this day and age, not the common belief. But on the other hand, it is still happening to children. And I want us to be able to feel that it's okay to interfere in nuclear families. It's okay, and it really should happen. And it's not just, I talked to Rob Clough, and he helped me, get some structure and some bones to this story, which was really fantastic. And he melted it down to the nuclear family and community, and the belief in community, and that we should be helpful with one another, to the prevailing belief in our capitalistic society, which is the rugged individual. I'm fine. We're all fine. There's nothing wrong here. I don't need any help, kind of thing. And so all of that blah. So the thing is, I am working on my own shame in terms of my children, and with a therapist and that kind of thing. But I just wanted, from a comics point of view, from kind of struggling with some part of a comic, how to get past that. I also, if there is time, or if it would be preferable, just going from this story of this child and whatever into I don't want it to be a lecture on, we should do this kind of thing, but just to open it up into the outside world. That even helps. Just talking about my process, which was so interior, to moving it out into that outside world, to communicating with other people. Oh.
Lauren, you want to take that? I got some, but I want to hear what Lauren has to say.
Yeah, well, so it sounds like what you're doing is, first of all, so important, and sounds like you have a plan and you're working specifically to get this out to other people. These aren't just like diary comics. The idea is to get it out to other people. And what you said about helping other children get seen is really such an important thing to do. And it's a gift for you to be able to do that for other people as well. I guess I'm curious about what what you're talking about, having a block about making work about how your life, how you were affected later, and then how your kids were affected by that. That is an incredibly, you put your finger on an incredibly tense, there's no right answer for this. This is a very, very tricky thing to do. And I think probably my hunch is kind of speaking delicately and going in to what it is that you're most afraid of talking about. And I don't even know if we can do it on this podcast or, like, but I think it's figuring out, I think when I get stuck on this type of stuff, it usually means that I do need to get some sort of assurance from the person that I'm writing about. And that can be a very difficult thing. It's not easy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go well. But that's a little bit what my hunch is here. But I kind of want to hear more about,
Yeah.
the specific blocks, because it may not even be what my hunch is, but like, I guess that's what I'm thinking.
I have some
Yeah.
questions. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeannie,
No,
this
no.
might, this might help frame the question a little bit. Are you working from like an outline or a synopsis or something that is set down already, A, and is it like chronological, here's me in my childhood and now here I am as an adult and things like that. So that's something as far as from a comic standpoint I'd like to know as well, in addition to what Lauren was asking.
Yeah, that is really a great question, and I also want to answer Lauren's question about getting assurance from my children. I think was what you were talking about. And so, yeah, the structure part of it, because what happened was I just started drawing, and drawing is so much easier for me than writing. That is absolutely not the way that in fact, in college, I turned in comics instead of term papers. And sometimes that was well received, and sometimes it was just, not so well received. But it was, it's how I think, it is drawing. So all this to say that I had to confess, there's no outline. There is nothing written down that isn't either in a bubble or, is the narrator or whatever. And in some ways, the words are secondary. But not to say that I haven't written, and that is a large part of it, is the writing part of it. I don't know, maybe I have a question back. Is it too late for an outline?
No, it's never too late for an outline.
Okay.
Outlines can pop up as you get all your, as you get all these sort of disparate things coming together. They can organize themselves into an outline as you collect more information. I'm working in the last 2 chapters of my book, and I've looked at all the things I've laid out and almost inked, and I realized I need an outline.
Wait,
Okay.
I thought you had an outline years ago.
Oh yeah, I have like a big outline, but I need like, I realized that for these last 2 chapters, I have them in a certain order. They need to go in a different order.
Yeah, that might really, really be a really good idea, because some of the things that I've been thinking about is the drawings that I've done as a child. They're so internal. And I mean, even to the point of, if this book never sees the light of day, it's been so helpful for me just to draw those. Now that I am in this point where I'm kind of stumbling, maybe getting outside of myself and thinking of an outline from the point of view of the book or the point of view of the audience, or that kind of thing might really be helpful to do, rather than yeah, because it's just not working and it's just not flowing. It just makes me, I start to draw little scenes of things and I just say you, and it's not anyway. So that might be a better way for me to work, that maybe I can't work the way that I did for the part that was just my experience. And so a different way of working by coming out of what happened and looking at it might be a better way to go. So and the other question, Lauren, about the assurance, I have two wonderful children. They're not children, they're in their 40s. Yeah. But we've had lots of discussions and lots of open things, and I've gone where they can ask any questions, and I'm not asking them to tell me to take care of me and to tell me, oh, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. I have been able to listen to them, and we've talked about the things that have affected them, and they've read what I've done so far, so they know, and they're very, very supportive of it. So yeah.
Jeannie, I'd like to propose something, and that is that since you mentioned that you have a good relationship with them, is that maybe you engage them in the process of talking about this experience, and maybe some of this of your present day discussions goes into the book somehow. Maybe you draw yourself in the present and them having this conversation. Maybe it's that simple. And that might be actually a safer way, because you've sort of got their approval, but also if you're sort of drawing them into the story, like literally drawing them with your hands, then you've got that sort of warmth that they are offering you, and you can not feel as well, as upset at yourself, frankly. You can be in that family space as you write and draw it. It's one notion I'd like to throw out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the shame in an isolated place in my studio, drawing what happened. And so maybe and I'm working with a therapist on the shame part of it, but it's I think they would they would act very much be happy to participate. So I shouldn't be afraid. I just, there's that little bit of me. I don't want to traumatize them anymore. You just have that. And yet I talk to them, and they say, yeah, that was really shitty, Mom. It was really, but here's what it taught me, men can be assholes, so, that's not a bad thing to, I don't know. But yeah.
And you've already had some of those conversations. So maybe you don't need to reopen certain ones with them and say, hey, I'm making a comic. Can you repeat those things you said to me last year, or whatever? It's possible that bringing in what you recall of the conversations you've had as adults, that might help.
Yeah. That's a great idea. That is very helpful. And I can't see the chat, but I know it's fabulous. So I'm just gonna save that chat.
Yeah.
But I'm too engaged here. So
I'm thinking of Alison Bechdel, right? And her book about her mother is actually on the phone with her mother in real time, collecting stuff that her mother's saying. It's pretty interesting. It's a little darker, I think, than what you're talking about, because in some ways Alison is kind of fishing for material from her mom in real time, and I don't think you'd be doing that. You'd be more like creating a space where you all are sharing the pain, I think.
I think there's also a difference between comics that you make when you're about to tread in a place that feels very emotionally raw. It may be important to make comics that you don't presume are going to go out into the world. Like you can give yourself that, like, I know friends, I have a lot of friends that are cartoonists that I think have mastered the art of diary processing of comics for their own personal gain, or I don't know, to process in something. So I have a friend who's made a lot of comics about something very personal in their lives, and then she intentionally burned them. And that was a way to just get rid of something. She knew it was not meant to go out into the world. Or comics that you make for a very specific group of people that you feel like that's a safe place to do it, just to get that feedback of like, hey, is this working as a comic? But also it's this thing that I'd never want to share to other people. So maybe giving yourself a space to make comics about the darkest things, knowing that they are not about, you know, your own shame, about anything that you feel bad about. Make them intentionally not necessarily, you know, they're not going to go into the book, but they'll work around these ideas, and then you can craft more what goes into the book. Especially since you're not glued into an outline anyway. It's not like
that might be especially useful since, Jeannie, you said you think in drawing more than in writing, right? So actually drawing some of these sequences might be a way of just exactly what Lauren's saying, sort of like purging, processing, and but the idea of burning this stuff, what a great idea, Lauren.
It's not my idea.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, I think that is very, very helpful. Yeah, and I like that thought process of thinking it's like, you know, brainstorming what you want to do the rest of your life or whatever. It's great to be just so open that it can be something that I draw and burn. And even if I don't, it gives me the freedom to draw whatever. Whatever.
And it might also like allow you to put your finger on what you would want to burn, and then you'd know keep the stuff that you know, like there are ways to sort of, you know, tread into dark waters and make that be perfectly okay, and make comics be like the world's best place for processing all of this, and then coming back from that with an actual, you know, I guess the ego would step in then and do a little bit of editing and say, hey, this is not what I need to show. I needed to get it out, but this is the part that goes into the story.
Lauren, I want to repeat that just because it was so great. You said it, doing this might help you put a finger on what you don't want to burn. That's just because it was so good. I just want to put it out there in a less echoey room. That's, go ahead, Jeannie. Sorry, that's amazing.
Oh, I just was just going to say thank you for recording this. And yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is a really good thing. Yeah. So
we should mention also, Jeannie, that you spend a lot of time doing very funny comics, right? I don't even think Lauren's seen them. Lauren, we'll have to share you some of Jeannie's.
Can't wait to see you.
The chickens are not just in her studio; they're on her daily pages. Do you want to tell us about that? And does that relate in any way to your bigger world, your bigger project? I don't know.
Yeah, well, in that 1 minute thing, and I don't know if we still have time to do that, but it shows my, you know, there were four children, and there's a classic hero, scapegoat, mascot, and silent one. Anyway, and it does, and you can probably guess which one I was, because I was the one smiling and dancing and trying to get my dad to be in a better mood, and, you know, not hurt my mom, and, you know, all of that. So humor has just been, I mean, when you talk about children with these adverse childhood experiences, they actually create ways of surviving, and they learn skills that are at the time very helpful to their survival. The problem is, as we grow into adults, they're no longer necessary, and yet we still react with those. So and in this case, I don't know, maybe it's a, you know, a good thing that happened. I don't know, I hate to say that kind of thing where it makes you stronger kind of crap, but because I just don't believe that. But having a sense of humor really kept me alive, and it just continues to and there is something to, you know, my dad having these hallucinations and things. I do kind of am open to what the flip side of anything is, and that's really where I get my humor. It's I think it's a little on the absurd side, but it you know, it makes me feel good. It makes me actually feel in control when I can draw. And, you know, when you make people laugh, I mean, you know, I mean, stand-up comedians, they're great and they make us happy and they make us laugh, but that's a lot of control as well. So I don't know. So that's why, I mean, on the back of my zines, I say I've had a chicken in my head my whole life, which is true, because I'll be walking around and the chicken's, you know, just talking to me about, well, yeah, what that would be funny if there was a little dinosaur under the chair that the person on the subway is sitting on, you know, that, and so then there is a little dinosaur under there. You know, it's how I get through. So anyway, I don't know.
And it's the world's best way to get through, right? Like making funny comics, making yourself laugh, making other people laugh. Like that's
Mhm,
I feel like the root, that's the core of
mhm.
comics. Like we've evolved into this whole graphic novel, etc. But like that core thing of making a funny doodle and then elevating it to like a comic strip, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
I'd like to actually show Jeannie's video now, and for the people listening, it's actually really clear in audio, so you don't, so it's okay without the images. It's better with the images, but it'll be okay, except for one silent part. And that silent part, I'm going to tell you right now because Jeannie just said it. She's showing her and her siblings, and the words on the screen are parentified, hero, mascot, silent one. So when there's like 3 seconds of silence, well, there's music too, I think, and you're like, what's going on? That's what's going on. It's saying parentified, hero, mascot, silent one. So, and then after that, Jeannie, I'd like to maybe come back and talk about what a possible outline or plan, maybe not an outline, but what a possible
Mhm.
plan might be, and then we can sign off. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and do this without too much trouble here, this video audio thing. And
I finished a draft of my graphic memoir. It is a story of growing up in the 1950s with a father diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and a codependent mother. I call it my nuclear family. Family life was chaotic and frightening. I have 3 siblings, and all 4 of us played our dysfunctional roles. Family trauma and adverse childhood experiences create toxic environments, affecting otherwise healthy children throughout their lives. If you know what it's like growing up in crazy land, I hope this book shows you you're not alone. For those who do not know, let me show you.
voila. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Well, there you go. Let me show you. Um, so Jeannie, so you set that up 4 years ago or something like that, maybe 3, and you've been working on it. And we've traded some ideas today. So what do you think a plan would be to make this happen?
Yeah. Um,
No pressure, and you don't have to have a final plan.
no, no. I'm just gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, this has been really, really helpful, just with some ideas of how I can proceed and get back into it. Um, and because I actually have been avoiding it for months.
Hmm.
And yeah, so the way that I'm thinking about it is I'm going to think very seriously about an outline, because the transition between me as a child and that kind of thing into we all need to watch out for children who might be having struggles and whatever that is, and here are some resources, or how I want to end that, because it is important for me not to just have my story there, but for a call to action kind of thing to it, and putting and creating an outline for that, which is sort of feels like being outside myself, which would be, I think, helpful in terms of doing the nitty gritty of putting a book together. It was very helpful to talk to Rob, because he just took all these drawings and just pulled them together in terms of chapters and in terms of a storyline and that kind of thing, which would be fine, and I could do that maybe for some other subject, but for something like this, it was very difficult for me. And so, yeah, I think it would be good to either start with an outline, or just be able to get back to some of the beginnings of those drawings that I'm having trouble with. And also with the suggestion, Lauren, that you made of, I'm going to burn this. I mean, this is crappy and icky, and I maybe I don't mind other people seeing it. I'm 73 years old. It probably at 23, I was not even admitting that I had this childhood to anybody, and use my sense of humor and whatever, and people didn't even know. And but now, what do I care? I'm seeing the guy with the sickle, down there far away, and have no idea where that's going. But if I could leave a little helpfulness behind me, that would be good. So I'm not so worried about exposing myself in terms of some of the things that happen to my children for other people to see. I just am working on the shame myself with a wonderful therapist, and that is really helping. So yeah, so the outline and the just getting the stuff down, is that too amorphous? Were you hoping for something more? Step 1, step 2, step 3?
No, it's good for now. We're
But
eager to see where it goes.
I think that, Tom, though, you're totally right, because sometimes if you in the telling of the story that you want to tell, once you're in the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty of it, that's when the comics end of it takes over, and the actual crafting of the story may dictate what goes in. It's like, if you talk in big, it sounds like you're talking about what this book is and what it can do for other people, which are all incredibly valid things. But once you're actually on a page to page level, that's when the storytelling aspect of it takes over. And so that, for me, a lot of times absolutely dictates what you need. Like, you can outline until the cows come home, but until you've actually drawn that page, it just won't, you can't see it. And so, yeah.
Right. And I think, Tom, what you said about bringing my kids into the process would be really good. And I think it would be helpful to have some kind of an outline or some kind of a to-do, but maybe initially I think I want to play with that idea, because I think that might give it some structure.
Yeah.
Before the call, we were talking about your kids, and you said you go down to their farm every 2 weeks, and you're about to birth some chickens for them, and like this might be the starting place. Maybe it starts with the birth of those chickens, or it starts with you visiting at the farm, and then you have a little conversation, and then you bring in some memories, and then I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Yeah, yeah. Like just bring in the chickens. It doesn't have to now be about chicken. Yeah, it can just be a vehicle. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I really like that because that is what I'm doing. I'm being kind of a surrogate mother for these little baby chicks that can't be around big chickens yet. So yeah, so that brings into my own mothering and these little chickens and all of that. Yes.
Awesome. I love that. And also, yeah, that's just
Oh,
gives you a really easy way to kind of talk to your kids. You're sort of doing this already, like it all kind of comes together,
mhm,
really.
mhm.
And also just the act of saying, hey, I want to bring you guys into the story, that gives you an outline, that gives you a structure in some ways. It's just interacting with them and then starting to make the work about it gives you a real way in.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I like
Well,
this.
we like to leave with a rooting yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to end it. So
I know, I was thinking that in this podcast, it might always be a good way, just knowing that people have a little bit of a plan leaving is
Yeah,
such an
yeah,
important
yeah.
thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
um,
I do have a plan. Yeah, yeah.
awesome. Thanks,
Like,
Jeannie. Thanks so
yes.
much. And yeah, thanks for the video. I'm gonna send some of your chicken cartoons to Lauren so she can see.
Oh, I can't wait to read them. That's great.
All right. Lauren, you should go back to your spa clearly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your
Oh,
spa.
sure. I wouldn't miss it. It's just great. It's so much fun. I can't wait to read your work too, Jeannie.
Oh, thank
It's so
you.
great to hear that you're on the journey. And this chat is so full of great questions too. I don't even know how we address them, but
Save, I'll post some of that in the
yeah.
thought network and maybe people can keep the conversation
Yeah.
going there because yeah, there's definitely some
Yeah.
some
I just
fascinating
want to
stuff.
thank everybody in I haven't read the chat, but thank you so much for all your comments because I watch the chat when I'm on the other side, and I know it's going to be really, really helpful, and I just really appreciate that. And thank you so much, Lauren and Tom, for doing this. This has been really a good thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeannie. And Lauren, I'll see you next week and you will be in Ireland?
Be in Ireland.
Whoa. Okay. Well, Jersey was a success, so we'll see if Ireland works out too, but I imagine it will.
I wonder if I can bring the characters from my book. They can just hop in and say hi.
You mean the real life people who are
Or
the, oh my gosh.
maybe, I don't know. Maybe
That'd
it's not important. It's really not important to anybody else but me.
I
But
think that's okay. I think that's enough.
yeah, okay, bye.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you in a week for Comics Karma. And good luck to everybody who's traveling. Good luck to everybody who's staying put. Good luck to everybody who's living in some place that's getting increasingly difficult. All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. This has been a production of the Sequential Artists Workshop, or SAW. You can find us on social media at Comics Workshop and online at sawcomics.org. There you can also hear about our many courses and intensives and in-person programs. SAW is a non-profit supported by people like you. Learn how to make a tax-deductible donation at the donate page of sawcomics.org. You can join our free community of comics explorers at members.sawcomics.org. Thanks so much for being here.